Now
You know, I look up to you anyway, just because you're such a great guy. But
Thank you.
No, I look up to you physically.
Okay. Tell us about when you and Ernie met to talk about the lease.
Okay, all right. So Ernie and I met, must have been 7 or 8 years ago. Thanks to some of our connections in the city here, and through Mike and Mimi Degree, they set up a meeting and we were able to get together. And I wanted to take Ernie out to dinner, tell him about our great program, talk about education and the lease and all this type of stuff. And when I asked him where he wanted to go, he said, why don't we just go to the International House of Pancakes and get a cup of coffee? So we went to the International House of Pancakes on a Thursday afternoon, and Ernie and Pat, his ex-wife, and Mimi Degree and myself sat around, and we're excited to talk about all the possibilities of the school and the property. But Ernie and I got caught up into talking about what we really love, which is the ocean, the islands, education, kids, possibilities, teaching, the environment, and we must have talked for an hour and a half about everything but real estate, a lease, and a property. And after an hour and a half talking about all these things, I think it was Pat, coughed and said, we probably should talk about this property at some point. And they pushed the lease across the table, on this 100-page lease, and I looked at it. It had been written on a typewriter 20 years earlier. And Ernie just said, look, we'd love to do a 10-year lease with you. We think having middle school in the building would be great for Santa Barbara. It'd be a great use of our building that was really meant to be of service and to cut a groove for this community. So we'd love you to be there 10 years. And I said, that's great. That sounds awesome. I can't believe it. This is amazing, because we were looking at little warehouses and buildings across town. We've been looking for 10 years. And then suddenly some weird, strange thing happened. And as I was looking at Ernie in this beautiful lease, a voice came through me and said, Ernie, do you think we could have 3 10-year leases? And he looked at me, and Mimi looked at me, and Pat looked at me with his kind of startled eyes, and he just said, you know, Brian, I'm probably going to be dead in 10 years, and there's nothing I'd like more than to see this campus being used to teach children and make a difference in Santa Barbara. You can have this for 3 10 years if you want it, if it all works out. I don't see why not. And he promised us a 30-year lease on the spot at the International House of Pancakes. And we got it from the table. He shook my hand. He said, you've got a month to figure it out if you want this. It's all yours. And just by the terms of this lease, it wasn't expensive. It was pretty cheap. He didn't increase the price. And I walked out of there thinking, we have a home. And I ran down, shared it with the board. We were excited. We were celebrating. We thought we could make this work. And then I heard he'd been offered 3 more offers for all more money than we offered. And for some of it, 50% more than we had ever offered. I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars more a year. So I assumed right then and there that we had lost it, that somebody else had a better offer. And I called him, left him messages, didn't hear from him. I thought it was gone. And about a week later, I get a call back from Ernie, who had been out at the islands or traveling or doing something, and said, Brian, I got your message. Don't worry about it. We shook hands. I gave you my word. We made a promise. We have a deal. I'm sure those offers are nice and they're worth more, but I don't want my property to be, to become a condo complex or something. I want it for kids. I want it to make a difference. So you can have this property just the way we talked about, because we shook hands, we made a deal. This is yours. And if you don't want it, then I'll talk to those guys, but it's yours for now. And so that whole idea of shaking somebody's hand, giving somebody your word, really still counts for something in this modern world with all these lawyers and contracts and everything. Your word and your handshake still counts. And without his word and that handshake and the belief in that, we wouldn't be here today. So that's how we met Ernie Brooks, and that's how we have this beautiful home, because that man has some serious love and generosity in his heart, and has the integrity and the kind of the honesty and the character to say a deal's a deal. So that's the story.
It was very nice talking to you.
It's nice talking to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.